Assassination Classroom, Season 2, Episode 9. There's a month of maturity? I think I missed that. Wait a minute. What is maturity month? Coming of Age Day, held annually on the second Monday of January under the Happy Monday system. Man, this just gets deeper and deeper. It's to help them realize they have become adults. But still you can't drink or smoke till you're 20. But you can ride a motorcycle, because that's the safest of all.
みんなそれぞれ答えを出し始めるそんな時期。コロ先生の暗殺まであと4ヶ月。
This kind of reflection though is really good though. They're writing it down.
本当に進路相談やってんの？
Who are you?
ピッチ先生。
For real?
あんたたちの普通のことに合わせてやって
Yeah, this is the type.
何よ？やっぱりもっと
No, actually
欲しいわけ？
it's great. Yeah, there's something to that. This is real.
なんで勝手に人の進路歪めてんの？君には男の仕事は似合わんよ。
The sabotage. Man, they really are living out some fanfic through Nagisa.
はいが主流だって。
カルマ君はなんで僕から取ろうとするの？はあ、
Thailand or Morocco, huh?
僕の進路。
We're well suited for assassination. Honestly. That's a dark road. What's your problem? Don't worry, we'll solve it for you. Whatever it is, we'll solve it for you with love. Get over to our classroom ASAP. Well, that was a doozy of an opening. There's not a whole lot I would really change about my past, but just in the thought experiment of me now being able to construct some kind of altered path for my past self, or maybe just as general advice. One, having a plan is not a death sentence. I think in this age I had the misunderstanding that having a plan meant that the exploration of life was over, which is just not true. I think if anything, probably working on a plan is a greater exploration of life and opens up more branching pathways. It's better to have something imperfect and flawed that, you're 70% about than wait forever for like the 100%er that just may never come, or is unlocked by some amount of work towards multiple 70%ers. You can always alter a plan to, as much as possible, go for what you want earlier. This is something I've experienced and often see in others. I want to do X, but X is kind of scary, so in order to pave the way for X, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then at some point X is just forgotten. And then one day you get around to finally doing X, and you realize, I probably could have just done this a lot earlier. Third, and this was at one point a painful one for me, but now I think is actually kind of beautiful. It's actually just not possible to do everything. In fact, it's pretty hard to do like two things well. And like while you're trying to do everything, you may end up being paralyzed and doing nothing, which isn't to say you can't do a lot of things. I mean, there's sort of an inherent trade-off built in where to be killer at one thing is so hard and requires so much sacrifice, depending on what the thing is. You're probably not going to get more than a couple of those, or maybe one per era of your life. But I think you can be decently proficient, high level of casual, as I call it, in a whole bunch of ways simultaneously, which can be really great and rewarding and also can synthesize, but like, as long as you're aware of the trade-offs there. Fourth, and I feel least confident about this, but it's something that I've come to think, if you want to do a bunch of different things, again, it will largely depend on a bunch of factors, but it might be better to like knock them off one at a time rather than try to do them all at once. Like an overall theme here is when you're young, you don't understand the power of time and you're in a rush to kind of like cram it all in, not make any commitments, keep all your options open. But there's a little bit of a trap there because gradual building is really, really powerful. And like you will live that time. It's okay to be really deliberate step by step with it. And finally, I personally think Thailand is overrated as a tourist, depending on what you're looking for. Some people really love it. Ninth period, round 2 time.
君の希望進路は完了ですか。
What's wrong with you?
国家運営のいわば裏方。カルマ君にしては地味にすら見えます。
That's when I can do the most damage and torture.
でも国の機能は麻痺せず、割と正常に回ってたじゃん。
This is surprisingly a wholesome take. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
影で仕切ってた官僚たちがすげえんだな。
Okay, getting there a little bit. If you want to do good in that role, that's wonderful.
政治家なんなよ。
はあ
He might be a great
お
one.
前みたいな声の大きい直上バカが看板にいるとさ。
Could really get the people going.
影から操るのが中肉性。
They could be allies. Let's not forget our roots.
私こう見えても天才小学生って呼ばれてたんだよ。小1の時に小6のテストでオール
Okay,
満
that
点
doesn't
席
give you
は
any
1
props.
の
No one cares. I was so smart in first grade.
せっかく入った小麦が丘でバカばっかやってたら本物のバカになっちゃってた。
Whoops.
失ったものの大切さに初めて気づいた。けどみんなと一緒にバカのこともしたかった。
I mean, you could do both. You can do it
こ
all.
のクラスで両方できた。
Sort of what I was saying earlier.
みんな考えてないようでしっかり考えてる。
It's great. It's a great exercise. Oh, that's another thing I was going to add. God, there's so much to this. I think one of the best habits I've ever developed is some form, any form of journaling, though it doesn't have to be written. Anything where you're actively committing your thoughts, and in this context, your plan, your direction, into a place where you are constantly seeing it, reflecting on it, creating around it. It just flexes that muscle for orientation. It's surprising how effective it can be to just like write down your strategy for any interval, multiple intervals. I think sometimes it's scary for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Maybe just a certain personality personality type, but it makes you feel a little bit hemmed in. But it's just a guide. Every turn of the year, I make a plan for the year, and then I break that down into months, and then I break that down into weeks. Though I found that like if you're doing it well, it'll become so obvious what you have to do that you don't really need to use it as much. But at any rate, it's always interesting at the end of the year to look back at my goals for the start of the year, because usually what happens is the results were wildly different than what I had planned, but are still satisfying in a way where I feel accomplished. Because what happens is you're committing to doing something, and you have a daily reminder of the fact that you are doing something, and that you want things, and that you want life development. But then, you know, your life is what happens when you interface with the world. And so things come up that serve the needs that you initially were setting out to meet. Or like you just realize certain things aren't working in the way you thought they would work, and you find better ways to make that happen. And sometimes you just fail. You're like, well, I just didn't do that at all. But yeah, that's okay. I don't think it's that Nagisa doesn't know. I think maybe it's that he's afraid to admit it or go for it. He's gonna be really good at this. She's not gonna see him coming. No one was the wiser.
多分僕には人を殺す才能があります。
I wonder if there's another way we could channel this.
大した長所もない僕にはこの先これ以上は望めないような。
No real strengths though. That's not true. That's not the right conceptualization of this whole thing.
殺し屋になるべきでしょうか。僕の。
This is an interesting challenge.
君ほどの聡明な生徒だ。今の質問、殺し屋になるリスクや非常識も考慮した上だと思います。
Yeah, he's not asking this question lightly.
君は臆することなく攻撃に入る勇気がある。
And the ability, and maybe worse, the enjoyment. There's a magnetism.
君の勇気は時期をはらんでいます。僕ごときどうなっても別にいいと。君言をどこか軽く考えている。
Interesting. This came up in the Reaper fight. Nagisa was like, I'll just put everything on my back, and then got rocked by his own move.
君の才能は何のために使うべきか、誰のために使いたいか、もう一度見つめ直しなさい。その後でもう一度相談をしましょう。
Very interesting.
2周目でなんとか倒せた。
That's so cool, giving Nagisa
そうとなったら
like a personal challenge to figure out. What's the character meaning in starting the game over? Getting a second try? That's the name of the episode, right?
おかえり渚。
Oh, it's Nagisa's mom.
本校舎復帰の条件50位に届いてなかったわよね。でも母さん聞いたのよ。
Oh, the comparisons.
寄付金持って必死に頼んだら特例で許可いただけたって。だから母さんもそうするわ。一刻も早く。
That's a no from me, mom.
僕は E 組のままがいいよ。
I've found something really
成
special.
績だって上がってるし、大学も就職も母さんが行けってとこ行くから。
Oh, the eyes, they just glazed or went evil.
暗い時に逆らっちゃった。
Oh, she has a dark phase. Oh no! This'll teach him. This will make him want to work hard in school and really love it. Don't you have any idea how expensive this is for me?
こうなると話ができない。
You don't say.
ごめんなさい。僕の理解が足りなかった。
This largely explains Nagisa's instincts for people. He just lives in fear. Gotta be highly sensitive to people's mood. If you live with someone who has a short fuse, it's scary how you can develop a short fuse vicariously, like, for them. Somebody in my young environment hated sudden loud noises, and it was a super big deal every time that happened, which, you know, is inevitable in life. So to this day, years later, as an adult on my own, if there's a sudden loud noise, I go into fight or flight, and I get upset. And it's like, man, why am I carrying this ghost? For what? I guess she won't be joining our class.
争い事が苦手な父さんは嫌気がさして出て行った。
You don't say.
あんたは子供なんだから人生の上手な渡り方なんてわかるはずないの。
This, of course, is mom's
私とか父さんみたくならないようにあんたの
pain. Yeah, there it is.
プラン
Exactly.
があるわ。
My life sucks, so I can only live vicariously through your future. But it's wrong. I mean, it's based on an assumption that's wrong.
その大学を出てるかどうかで出世が決まるの。
How do we define success?
トップを占める菱丸
Is
に
it, are we succeeding? Is this
母
success?
さんが入れなかった名門商社だ。
Oh god, you are just a substitute for my own personal anguish.
ああ、理想を言えば女の子
Oh, is that why?
だから自分の子供には思う存分おしゃれを仕込むつもりだったのに
Wear this dress, daughter.
ほら、長髪にさせてるからやっぱり似合う。
知りたくもない。
Oh man. Oh, this makes it extra terrible with the students doing this to Nagisa.
ゴロ先生は見抜いていた。僕の人生の主人公は僕じゃない。
Maybe we just want to kill mom.
RPG 母さんの2周目だ。
Well, second round.
そんな急に先生だって忙しい
You're
か
not
ら。
あ
allowed.
んたのためよ、渚。
And by your good, I mean my good. You are an avatar for my dark dreams.
何も心配いりません。先生は地球を滅
I'll
ぼす
deal
超
with
生
mom.
物。三者面談などノープロブレムです。
I think it's a great idea. I, for one, am on board. With a Koro Sensei parent-teacher conference. Wow, Dad really just left Nagisa to this fate. Weirdly, I have some experiential context for the whole dark mode thing. I was very close to someone with it distinctly felt that way. And it was really hard to balance that because, you know, you'd be living your life as normal and then you'd say something perfectly normal that you'd always say. And then, like, it wouldn't land exactly the way I expected. And I look over and realize, oh no, it's demon time. And it always seems so sudden and random. I still to this day don't know what to make of it. I have a suspicion that maybe part of it was like there was some kind of circuit breaker for goodness from her, where things weren't allowed to get too good because maybe that was threatening. Maybe in the past that's the exact moment something happened. So it had to correct back to like a comfortable, conflict-infused normal. It's really sad for Nagisa because a lot of it is deference to his mom, who he clearly really cares about. The assumption hasn't even fully hit that she doesn't have his best interests at heart. There's still that much amount of faith there, and still it seems like, at least in part, a warm-hearted, good-natured desire to see mom happy. And I mean, I have like adult friends who are, I wouldn't say to this extreme, but like their parents are a little bit overboard and still are seeing their kids' life as somewhat of an extension of their life. Or as what came up recently in Last of Us, where like there's tension that needs to be drained on both sides. So for kids, it's your parents are gods and that has to be grounded out into reality. But for parents, you have specific expectations and hopes for your kids, but your kids are also individuals and that also needs to get grounded. They need to make their own way. And it's so tricky because that's happening on both sides simultaneously in different ways. It's a mess. But on the kid's side, you gotta separate at some point, which doesn't mean you can't really love them and can't listen to them and can't honor them, but there's a line and this is not it. I think one of the critical elements of it is that it's not really for Nagisa. It's a different thing if parents really love their kids and want the best for them as individuals and do their best to share their opinion. But if love is really the grounding force, then that will persist through any iteration of it. We've fought military leaders and top-level assassins, high school kidnappers, but we cannot fight mom. This should be rich. Look at the muscles. Nihilism? I don't think it's nihilistic at all. I noticed that right away. Well, like, if it doesn't go according to plan, we just kill her. Oh, she's in dark mode. She just came in dark mode. Is there a non-dark mode? I haven't seen it yet. Oh, dark mode activated. She still has short hair. She had a rough childhood. Out of order. This is one time when the unnecessary subtitles are exactly right. Perfect. I didn't need the 8 million tentacles translation, but I did need that out of order translation. Yeah, it's so obvious now, isn't it? It becomes so clear after 30 seconds of seeing mom. That's great news. I'm happy for you. Dramatic. He got all in the juice. Now there is hair in the juice. We just came out and said it. That's great. Wow. Thank you. Mom is not used to being stood up to. It's all because of the teacher. It's all someone else's fault. And then she left. I mean, she made a lot of noise. Didn't really do anything. Oh, is that what round 2 means? But that's a no. That is definitely a no. That's the real episode title. First round. My first round.
ごめんね、なぎさん。今日は先生の前で怒鳴ったりして、母さんも一生懸命だったから。
We can tell.
私の人生の邪魔をする者は絶対に許さないことにしたの。
Oh, what happened? Did mom poison us? Or just overwhelmed? Oh my god, mom poisoned us. This is demonic, speaking of which. This feels like the start of a Silent Hill game. Only pain can purify your soul, and I will birth a demon god in my image. This woman needs an exorcism. Be gone, foul demon. I'm starting to think that mom has serious problems. Where is your gratitude? Yeah. You're a demon. Oh, this sort of dead, the owed debt. That's a real thing. You owe me for your life. This is something that rears its ugly head in all sorts of relationships, where in the course of your relationship, you're calculating the debt incurred. That actually is what leads to what I was mentioning earlier about how people can't accept things to be good, because in a way they're losing leverage. They don't want you to be good. They don't want you to do nice things, or they don't want to allow the narrative of you doing nice things. They don't want to allow for just generosity for generosity's sake and doing things out of the goodness of your heart and love for the person. No, it's all a strategic, calculated game, a zero-sum game. All things are just a coercive game between people, so I will tally every last thing I do for you, and that will be the only way in which I will get what I need out of other people, since other people are so terrible and can't be trusted and always let you down and hurt you and abuse you. Though in the tallying, of course, there is always a little bit of a bias in how we're counting, because the things I did were great and generous and giving, and the things you did were insufficient and manipulative and neglectful. Not that it's always to that extreme, but even in small ways, that pops up, and I've learned to think it's just better not to ever mention something you've done that you did out of warmth and love as a reason for why you are owed something or why you expect something. It does so much damage, because in the other person's eyes it somewhat invalidates the great things you've done that at that time may actually have been genuine expressions. It makes them want to put up a wall and never accept anything from you ever again. It casts a horrifying light on those things up to this point, because it's like, oh, I thought you did that because you cared about me. Now I find out you just did that to score points. Never do anything nice for me ever again then. Couple fights sometimes devolve down these lines. Well, what about when I did this for you? You don't appreciate that at all? How could you be acting like this after all I've done for you? Well, what about all I've done for you? I did this, this, and this. I didn't want to do that. I was tired. I was busy with other things, but I still did it just for you, so you'd be happy. And surprise, surprise, that solves nothing. It just leaves both people feeling miserable and distrustful of the other and wary of all future gifts of any kind. Specific to the parent and child thing, man, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't ask for this. I can love you and live my own life at the same time. Goodbye. The best argument for Nagisa becoming an assassin is to be able to support himself on his own.
キーキーうるせえよクソババアドラマの時間が来ちまうじゃねえか
Well, this might be taken care of for us.
必ず奴はここで自立放題とともに連ドラを見る
Oh, I guess quality time with Ritsu.
奴の脳天をぶち抜いて殺してやるぜ
Look, after all we've been through, a whip is not going to do it. This is an interesting way to resolve this. I kind of wanted Nagisa just to resolve it directly with Mom. Where's your dark mode now? What good are you? Your dark mode and your capacity for extreme violence only good for your kids? That's what I was saying, yeah. Heightened sensitivity to mood. Yeah, that makes total sense. This has got to be a personal, very personal thing for the author, I think. People who spend their childhood walking on eggshells.
育ててくれたお金も全部返します。それでも許してもらえなければ。
なんで？
母さんからも卒業します。
Maybe just do that. You got clapped. Well, how did he get, like, knocked out by the clap, though?
産んで育ててくれただけで。
Yeah, this is what makes it so tragic, is that it's based on something really beautiful. Nagisa can't unsever because he's still a good kid and loves his mom and feels responsible and guilty for mom's pain, which is not his fault.
堂々と3月までに殺す宣言しちゃいましたね。もう後には引けませんよ。
わかってるよ。
This just makes it sadder. I want to do it less and less, damn it.
誰もが通る巣立ちの準備を始めただけなんです。
離れていく。私から。
An interesting thing in these relationships is that a lot of times the parents also want their kids to fail because they like the dynamic and they like the power. And what they really are looking for is the attachment and the need. And so they'll gladly see their kids weak because they can continue being the parent. That's not loving another person.
緊張が解けて気を失ってしまったようですね。
Must be hard to hold in all that dark energy all the time. She's a very high-level spirit user. She would be a great Jujutsu Kaisen protagonist.
暗殺に適したような才能でも母さんを守れたように誰か
That
を
is such
助
a
ける
great
ために
insight.
使いたい。それはやっぱり殺し屋じゃないよ。ぶっちゃけ危険だしね。
I mean, not to mention also the killing, which I don't want for you, but... Oh god, this is gonna be so frustrating for Koro-sensei who can fly. That's understandable.
何なのこれ。
今日から朝
You
ごはん
need
は
your
僕が作るよ。
calories after all that dark energy you expended.
ゴミ捨てとかちゃんとやるし、高校もくぬぎが丘と遜色ないところへ。
I don't want to hear about my dad anymore. I'm doing my best. Stop paying money and bribes.
母さんは知らないからね。
That's
僕
a
は殺
step.
し屋。胸を張って 卒業まで
Assassinating my family demons. Assassinating my family baggage. I mean, as far as skills go, that's a great one. If you can just assassinate your interpersonal problems, you're probably set. I like the takeaway about the assassin thing because speaking of traps of thinking about careers and stuff, it's easy to get overfixated on the specifics of the thing and not realize that the thing is kind of a vehicle for you and your development and probably some much more universal human stuff, of which there are multiple paths. It feels like a little bit of a contradiction because you need a path and you need to be specific and you need to think about it, but it's not the prison that it feels like, and you're just trying to get closer and closer to the source of the thing and understand yourself better and, you know, raise your personal game up. I've had conversations about nihilism with people where one of the biggest defenses about how some people are just doomed is my dream is to become a basketball player and I was born 5'1" and so life was just set against me. And it's like, you're just making the conditions for failure way more delicate than they have to be. That's not the only way that anyone can succeed or get the utility they need out of life. And it's also not the point. It's also probably not why you even are drawn to being a basketball player in the first place. There's a combination of things in there that you anticipate receiving as a basketball player. And those things may be money and fame, which, like plenty of paths to that, what you'll probably find going far enough that way is that too was sort of an intermediary step, and what you want is something like real personal fulfillment and enrichment and feelings of usefulness and utility and esteem and real affection from others that you initially identified this as being the path towards, of which there are countless easier, simpler, more resounding ways to get there, or of which that is just one. But simultaneously, it probably helps to have an active working goal, and you take it as far as you can and you keep your eyes open in the meantime, not just for the opportunities that arise, but also for what's changing in you. This was a really great episode. I think it's one of my favorites of the show so far. It just adds so much to Nagisa, and also in a way that it feels kind of close to home. There's so much about this that feels correct in its depiction and terrifying, and I also like the lessons from it. You know, there's like a little bit of distancing that has to happen, and there's a little bit of just acceptance of reality that has to happen. That's one of the mom's problems, is that she's unable to do that. Nagisa sort of has to carry that burden, you know, like, wow, my mom, you know, she's a hurt person, and she has very specific hopes and dreams for me that really are just vehicles for her own laments, and like, I can love her and I'll do my best to help her, and I don't want to be a burden, but end of the day, I have to live my own life, and I can do both. Mom is going to be what mom is, you know, mom might just stay in demon mode, and I'll love her anyway, but like, I can't let her demon mode be the driving force in my life. I'm not going to live in demon world with her. And actually, I think in those cases, even though it's possible the person just collapses into themselves in a black hole of bitterness, there's also a possibility that's the best possible way to help them. You know, you grow into yourself and you really become something you like, and you are kind of resound in your self-image and your direction and the things you're doing. If there ever was any love there in the first place, they'll come around to that and they'll be really happy and they'll be thrilled, and it might be an inspiration to them in ways they never expected. On the better meaning side, sometimes parents, they just don't know something is possible, or it's just outside of their realm of experience or what they think is viable. And in those cases, it's great because just seeing it is enough to convince them. Like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong and you're living a great life doing this thing that you're pursuing. In the worst cases, they'll continue to be bitter, but like, that's them. That's where they are. And you can't force someone out of that, and you don't want to like drown with them in the hopes that you can pull them out of the water, because in a lot of these cases, in a certain sense, they're where they are partly from their own force of will. It's not always a conscious decision, but there are decisions being made. There is a level of comfort in the darkness. There's something they need about it, which is why it persists so long and so thoroughly. And so the best thing you can do is the same as always. It's be the best person you can be. Do the best good you know how to do. And you can do all those things and be true and good to yourself and still be selfless towards other people that you love.